Hey. Let me clear that. Okay. You should be able to hear me now. Let me make sure that I've got... Lester, first off, hi. Secondly, no, you can't pop out the chat box. That's one thing that I don't like. I'm using Boxcast, and, oh, Matt's from Phoenix, another Arizona person. Hi from Virginia. So... Okay, I can in fact hear me, so that's a dull roar in the background, so hopefully it won't be distracting to hear myself on the 30-second delay. So as I'm talking, you are like 30 seconds behind me, so if you ask a question and I'm looking, I actually have a monitor above the camera, so if it looks like I'm looking above your heads, that's just me reading the chat. If I'm reading the chat and I don't get back to you immediately, it could be that this delay is what's going on. It looks like we've got someone from Addison, Texas. So... Kathy, I will be, you say it's a suburb of Dallas, I'm going to be teaching at the Church Facilities Expo in October in Dallas. So if you want to come, I'd love to meet you there. Lori's from near Detroit. Wally's Central Ontario. I think, Wally, you've been on one of these calls before, so great to have you as well. Howdy from Montana says, anyone else have a lead guitarist in earshot going through sound patches? Not I, but then again, I'm in my office, which is actually my garage. So that's, I'm the only one home now, which is a little unusual in the summer. Both of my daughters are at work along with my wife, so... Cool deal. We'll get started here in just a second. I'll welcome everyone, then we'll get going. If you haven't already said your name in the chat, please do so. I'd love to welcome you by name. That's just something that I like to do, and then we'll get going from there. So if you can hold on for just a second, let me drink some water. I'll be doing that from time to time because talking for an hour straight can make the voice a little rough. And I've got plenty to do it with. I think, if I'm understanding correctly, that the way that I've got the microphone tuned, you can't hear my air conditioner in the background. Since I'm in a garage, I've got a portable one. If you can, I apologize, but it's just the case that if I turn off the air conditioner, which I'm not against suffering for my art, but it seems to, my computer heats up and then it doesn't respond very well. So we're gonna leave it on. It's pointed at the computer, so that should be good too. So looks like we do have a question. Lester says, am I supposed to be able to speak into the session? No. This is a live stream only, so it's not like Zoom. I have, in fact, used Zoom in the past, but first off, the resolution, I'm sending this 1080p, so if you've got a fuzzy screen, make sure you click on the little gear icon, lower right-hand corner, change it to 1080p. If you've got enough internet speed to do that, that's going to give you the best, and then we'll go from there. Oh, someone from Palm Springs, too. Okay. So, Dave from Cary, North Carolina. So I'm just going to go through real quick. Here, let me get rid of the countdown. By the way, that was all ProPresenter. The countdown, the full screen graphic of Church Tech U, my logo, and the music was all being played played in ProPresenter. The ProPresenter installation I'm going to show you. I've only got one of them running right now, and we'll go from there. So I do Smitty from Missouri, then Jay from California. His last name is the same as mine. I don't think there's any relation, or not very close. I don't know of any Jays in my family. Then we've got Richard from South Carolina, and Jenny, and Margie. Margie's from Florida. Jenny is actually from near Indianapolis. Then Billy from Maine, Dee Dee from Mississippi, Curtis from North Carolina. So we've got both of the Carolinas represented here. Trinity from Massachusetts. My oldest daughter is named Trinity, actually. So good to have you, Trinity. Hi to Claudine from Arizona. Lester from New Jersey. Lori from Michigan. Matt, also from Arizona. Elizabeth from Virginia. Kathy from Texas. Wally from Central Ontario. First international person that I saw, other than over on YouTube, someone from England was watching, but I was trying to encourage them to come over here. Marcia from Illinois. Dave from North Carolina. Orville from Palm Springs. Howdy from Montana. He said, I'd like to thank you for the countless videos and tips you've provided over the years. You'll never know how many times your videos have helped me out in a jam. Kim from Florida, 2 from Florida. So, I thought that we would either I'll just gab all day, or maybe we could get started. If you'd like to see me get started, go ahead and say so in the chat. Say, let's go, thumbs up, anything like that, and we'll go from there. I'm going to take one more drink of water before we head over to my computer. So, still waiting. This 30-second gap is making it a little hard for me to see any interaction, but as I said, it was to be expected. So we'll get started straight away if you want to. So, okay, Margie says, let's go. Wally says, let's get her done. Okay, so let's go ahead. This is ProPresenter. Howdy says, let's rock. That's right, love hearing that. So, I've been using ProPresenter 7 since about November of 2019. You might be thinking, ProPresenter 7 came out in 2020. Yes, it did. I was a beta tester, and I remain a beta tester. So I love that I get to share stuff with you. Here, while I'm thinking about it, let me go ahead and clear out that message. I know Elizabeth asked a question that I'll bring up here before too long. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. I might have seen another one. I'll have to scroll back through those as we're going. I'm just going to start off with some of the basics because I know at least one person had never touched ProPresenter. She emailed me and said, hey, do I need ProPresenter in order to do this? The answer is no, but, and this goes for all of you, you may not know this, there is a free version of ProPresenter. Now you might be thinking, Scorm, that was worth the free I paid to get to here. Yeah, just before you get too excited, the free version of ProPresenter has a watermark that shows up from time to time. So one thing that you should know is if you ever have a paid version of ProPresenter and the watermark is showing, something has gone wrong. Usually you just have to re-put in your code. That hasn't been an issue recently, but it is something that could come up. So, but you can do everything in the free version that you can do in the paid for version except present without a watermark. And the watermark is added at the time of presentation and does not follow the saved file. So if you want to have a copy of ProPresenter at home that you make stuff with, export it and then import it at church or wherever you're using ProPresenter, you absolutely can. In fact, they encourage you to. So for training purposes, for just getting familiar with the software, by all means, go to renewedvision.com, download the version that works for your computer, and go from there. It is Mac and Windows 10 and 11 only, so make sure that you do stick with that. So let's start off talking about the user interface, because there is a lot here, quite frankly, and it can be very confusing for some people that have never seen ProPresenter, just where everything is, how you interact with it, etc. Then maybe we'll talk about adding displays, talk about the editor, that kind of thing. Just, I want to give you as much value as possible in this next 50 minutes or so. I do need to keep it to about an hour because the replay, if it gets too long, I have to cut down the quality in order to upload it to where I'm going to share the replay from. So anyway, all of that to say, let's start up here in the upper left-hand corner. This first column is where everything is stored in ProPresenter. So you'll notice that I have a bunch of libraries. A library is nothing more than an organizational tool, like a filing cabinet. So that's where you can keep songs, scripture passages you might have used, sermon notes, liturgy, hymns, anything that you would want that's primarily text, you would store in one of these libraries. So that's what a library is. Underneath that, if you scroll down, you'll see that we have playlists. A playlist is nothing more than an order of worship or order of events. ProPresenter can be used in a secular setting. We may have time to talk about that, maybe not. So you have that, and whenever you click on something, it shows down here. So if you click on the library up here, notice this is everything that is in the senior adult library. I just realized that I was making some notes on my robot vacuum cleaner in the senior adult library. Silly me. So this is the playlist that we're using. We do have a few different icons here. This is a regular playlist. This is a Planning Center playlist, so you can make them in Planning Center Online and import them into ProPresenter if you wanted to. Next, we also have this is a folder, which is a way to further organize playlists, because, you know, if you only have one service a week, after a year you're going to have 52 of these bad boys. So it could get kind of ungainly. So you might want a folder to further organize things. You can also make, in addition to this, templates for services, so you can build out kind of the skeleton and then create a new one where you just drag and drop the appropriate songs, the appropriate sermon notes, etc. And go from there. I do see some questions coming. I'll get to those here in just a minute, and we'll go from there. So here I have a list of all the stuff. This is actually the opening that I used when you saw the Church Tech U logo. You'll notice that I've got some stuff up here. What's happening is I'm doing some things in order to automate what's going on. You'll notice that I have my mouse just resting lightly on the M there in the upper left hand corner of the Church Tech U logo. That's a macro, and what it's actually doing is it's sending a command out to control my video switcher. So right now you're looking at me through a Blackmagic Design ATEM Television Studio HD video switcher. and that's what I'm using in concert with the Decklink Duo 2 card. So if you've got that kind of stuff, then you can automate stuff so that when you click on a certain slide, certain things happen. So that's a cool little feature that's a little more advanced. Notice I've got a slide loop. It's got a 5-second go to next timer on each of those. So these are from our friends at Church Motion Graphics. And same with this background video. I just set this as a foreground. Yeah, that's... So I've got it doing... Actually, it's on the slides layer, and I've got a media playlist on the foreground. I was thinking, what is that icon? It's a media playlist. So then you'll notice that I've got this for my vertical TV, which is this guy. I'm actually using ProPresenter while I'm teaching you how to use ProPresenter. So we've got that. Of course, we've got songs. I'm working on a tutorial on the easiest way I can figure out how to do lyrics in multiple translations. So if you've got a bilingual church, you could have, for example, English and Spanish, and you could have one set of lyrics on one screen while another set is on the other, and they would change automatically. Or you could have both on the same one. So it would be pretty straightforward there. Maybe even have a lower third of just one set of lyrics that are on the that would be therefore on the lower third that's going to the live stream. So fun stuff that I'm still working on because I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So that's what this is. It's just an order of worship. Down here, we start off with Pro Content. This is something that I will advise you to at least get a free account to because they have some free backgrounds. Run by Renewed Vision. It's something that they bought Visual Media Church, I believe, and so therefore they've got some great stuff there. Beyond that, we have playlists. A lot of people think of playlists in the media area as just folders to organize things, but they're actually a little bit more than that. So you can add a playlist instead of a single background to a slide, and then it will just go through, if you have it set up correctly, each item in the playlist. So, you know, a good example of this might be I could have a set of announcement slides that go from one to the other, and I don't have them set up here in a regular presentation. I actually have them set in a media playlist that's dragged onto the presentation. So that's one thing you can do with it. I think a much better application would be like this time of year when you have mission trips and vacation Bible school and that kinds of things, where maybe you've got a bunch of photos that you get and they just want those playing either before church starts or maybe after or during a song, for example. Then you could have a media playlist that does that, and then you drag and drop that on, and it doesn't matter how long you're singing for, it's just going to loop through those, and every time you do it, it's going to show different stuff. So it's a cool little use case for that. We also have video inputs. So I'm actually going to show you my video input right here. So you see that? Well, look, if I lean over here, you can see my hand moving. So that is a live view of my desk just over there from my FaceTime camera. So with ProPresenter 7, you have the ability to switch between, well, last time I checked, up to 8 cameras. You can have different video transitions. It does introduce some latency, so you wouldn't want to use that for image magnification, aka iMag, showing live video on a screen. For that, it would be better to use a video switcher. But if you have 2 or 3 cameras and you don't yet have the budget to have a video switcher, then you can absolutely do that here in ProPresenter and send only those to your live stream with reformatted lyrics. So that's something people like. So it looks like, if I had to guess, it looks like some of you are a little behind. And fast forward to up. Okay, next. So that is the left-hand column, which is, as I say, where everything is stored, where you get the stuff. Here's the middle part. This is where we interact with everything. So when you're changing from one set of lyrics to another, notice that I'm doing that here, and my live video is still there. So that's a cool feature. I can also, because ProPresenter runs on a series of layers, I can interact with any layer without affecting the other layers. So in this case, maybe I want to get rid of the live video. Well, look, the same slide remained up at the same time. So kind of the metaphor that I use is, I'm old enough to remember overhead transparencies, which are clear pieces of plastic that had words on them, or sometimes people would draw on them, and you'd put it on a lighted table that had a lens above it. And so ProPresenter is like having a stack of, I think it's 8 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, 8. And each one can be changed independently of any of the others. Now it's only showing 6 of the visual layers here, because the bottommost layer is a background color layer that you set in the configure screens dialog, and the topmost layer is a mask that you set in looks. But you don't have to know what any of those are right now. I just wanted to touch on that really quick. So one thing that you can do is notice each slide is numbered. Any numbered slide, while you're on that particular presentation, type in the number, let's say 5, and enter or return, and that will take you directly to that slide. So you don't have to mouse down to wherever it is. If you know, oh, it's the chorus that we've jumped to, then you can just type that in. But notice how I've got verse 2 down here on slide 7. Wouldn't it be great if I could just jump to that instantaneously with a single button press? Well, you can. It's S. And that's what these little letters in the upper left-hand corner are. Those are called hotkeys. So it's the ability to jump around to anything. I say this all the time, every time I talk about this. It doesn't matter whether the worship leader forgot his or her place. Doesn't matter if the Holy Spirit moved them. All I know as the ProPresenter operator is I did not get the word that we were skipping to a different section. So that just gives you the ability to now hop to verse 4. Oh, verse 1? No problem. Hop to verse 1 with just tapping the A. So I can hop around, no problem. Lots of power there within ProPresenter 7. I think I saw someone talking about these little icons in the upper left-hand corner. Not the letters, but some of these other icons. This one is the a look action, so you can add an action by right-clicking and going down to action, and we've got all kinds of stuff that we can do. So an audience look is kind of like a disguise, hence the little Groucho Marx glasses disguise there. So that was an inside joke inside of ProPresenter. The programmer that made it thought there was never in a million years a way that they'd let that through, but they kind of have a fun sense of humor, so they did decide to let that through. I can change how the stage screen is laid out. I can change whether the lyrics, etc., go to just the stage screen or to the audience screen. Maybe you've got like special music where you want the lyrics to be up there for the person that's singing or the choir that's singing, whatever, but they don't need to be there for the congregation to see. So that's a good use there. We can show a certain timer, props, messages, etc., just by clicking on this, having right-clicked first and then gone to add action. So as soon as I click on that particular slide, then that will change. So fun stuff there as well. You're probably going to spend most of your time in these 4 modes here up at the top. We've got show mode, which is the one that you're seeing here. Don't get hung up on, is Renewed Vision saying that if you use their product, your worship service is just a show? No, they just needed a word for that. So we are showing it. So this is the mode you're in when you are showing the lyrics, when you are showing video clips, etc. Next we have the editor. This is the one that gives you all the power of changing fonts, changing text boxes, etc. And once you understand where everything is located in the editor, then it's really simple to go from there and then you can use that, because the main editor is the basis for most of the other editors that have specialized solutions. Change your life if you didn't know about it. And that is, let's say someone on the official ProPresenter users group, which if you're not a member, you should be. Go to tdm.fyi/ppug and join if you haven't already. I'd love to have you. So reflow editor, someone was saying, hey, we used to have 4 lines per slide, now we need to go to 2. How can I change that? Reflow is your answer. If you go into the reflow editor, this isn't showing stuff very easily because I was messing with it, but let me just click on this. Let's say I wanted to split it right here after B and before that. I can either click insert slide break down here, or on the Mac, option return, and it splits right there, just that quick. Or on Windows, I think that it's alt enter. So, and to compress back down, so I've still got my cursor blinking right there, I just hit the backspace button or the delete button on a Mac. That's where the backspace button is on Windows, and it compresses there. So really quickly you can go through a song and you can split the number of lines. And notice how it has a preview over here, so I could say, oh, that thou, so that's the right number of words, but I just don't like how it looks. So I can go over here to slide 10 and I can hit enter and have it show up like that. And I fixed it just that quickly. So then I think we had a question on the Bible app earlier. If you go up here to Bible, This is one of the things that you can hide if you're using ProPresenter for secular work. Not that you would want to necessarily, but sometimes you just fall in love with software like I have, and you're like, why aren't people using this? It's just so powerful and not that difficult. So now for your scripture lookup, we can do John 3:16 and 17, and when I hit enter, notice that that shows up on two different slides. This is actually a lower third that someone sent me and was asking the best way to deal with it. So there's a couple of things. It is possible to show more than one verse on a slide if the theme is set up for it. So up here in the upper right hand corner where it says options, we can change to a different theme if we wanted to. So let's see here. I think I've got like another scripture one. Looking for it, bilingual. Yeah, Bible here. So let's do that. Do that and notice how it upgrades. A little bit of a problem is the citation is showing in the main part and then the scripture is showing in the citation part. So I can fix that here in just a second. But notice that I also have the ability to break on verse or don't break on verse. That only works if you're only showing one translation. If you're showing two or more, it will absolutely break on the verse every time. So do keep that in mind. But let's go back here and I'm going to fix this. So first I'm going to go to none for this reference just so that it gives me the ability to swap that out. Look how much better that is. And now I can select this text box for the reference down there. So this particular theme is a little large, so it's not great for showing more than one verse, but there is a verse in Esther that there's no way that you're gonna show multiple verses at once. It's the longest verse in the Bible, and even if you could, I don't think you'd want to, because the text would be minuscule. So, but once we've got that the way that we want it, I can go down here to save as in the lower left hand corner and copy it to the selected presentation, so this one right here, or save to a playlist, and then I can navigate to whatever playlist, or I could just save it, and it will save it in one of the libraries, whichever one you had told it in options to do. So that's that stuff. Up here, this is for pro content. If you don't have the media layer, pro content, or the slide or the live video layer showing down here, this button right here will toggle that. So if it looks like this and you want to show the media layer, you can show that. That's only in the interface. So if you have media playing and you click that, then it will continue playing. So like this background here, if I hide that, notice that this continues to play. It's just for the interface down here. So these two buttons do have a lot of confusion, and that is, you'll see that they're off, but you'll see that this screen is on. How did I do that? Well, this is actually coming from some specialized Blackmagic devices hardware. Not Blackmagic, woo, but you know, the company, I think they're out of Australia, that makes video gear. I wish they had called themselves something different, because a lot of churches use it, and occasionally you'll get someone that freaks out at the name. So I think of these two buttons as what they do is they show the desktop. So when this is off, it shows the desktop. When it's on, it shows ProPresenter's output. One quick thing, someone was asking, can you set a theme to import English on the left and French on the right? Yes, you can have a theme that does that. The hard part is importing stuff with two different text boxes on it, on each slide. That's the piece that I'm working on for an upcoming tutorial. So you could do every other slide, and there's some stuff you could do, but that is what would be going on there. So here, let me so go back to show mode. Of course, all of this assumes that you have your screens added. So if we go to screens and configure screens, and by the way, just so you know, the questions, I'm going to go through those all at once. I'm trying not to answer them, because they can kind of sidetrack things, but I do want to show those. Probably I'll go through those probably in 5 or 10 minutes. So know that I do see some lively discussion in the chat, which I love. So anyway, if we go to screens, then configure screens, you'll see that I have 6 screens that I've added right now, and each of those can be configured to show slightly different stuff. So ProPresenter will actually do 8 individual screens by default. There are ways to get more, but at a certain point you've got to think, okay, is it actually useful to have that many screens? But all that to say, let me tell you about the ones that I have here. I have the audience screen, that's for my congregation. This one is alpha, that has transparency, so I'm sending that through my video switcher. This is my vertical screen right there, and I'm using that in conjunction with the rotated vertical stage screen down here. I'm not going to tell you all about that, but that is kind of a little bit of a workaround. I love creating hacks for ProPresenter. Someone else suggested that. That wasn't all me, but once they suggested it, I had it going really quickly. And then this screen one, someone was asking about having another screen in a recent live training that I did for live streaming, and so that's what this is. This is actually a placeholder screen, which is one of the 4 types of screens inside of ProPresenter. We've got the screen that's just connected to the computer, so the computer sees it. If ProPresenter isn't connected whatsoever, you can have a desktop background on it, you could put other software on it, etc. So that's one. The second one is Blackmagic. I see some lively discussions about Blackmagic as a fun name for church gear. Yeah, I know. So this is a Decklink Duo, which has 4 video outputs, but they can be married together, 1 and 3 and 2 and 4, to do 2 alpha channels. In my case, I've got 1 and 3 married together for a single alpha channel, and then 3 and 4 are separate, and they're their own thing, one of which is my vertical screen. So so the vertical screen right here is a placeholder, which is The third type, and a placeholder, is just a screen that never leaves ProPresenter. The idea behind it initially was you could set stuff up at home without actually connecting anything. You know, you don't want to connect your TV while you're setting things up. In Pro 6, you really needed to in order to see things the way that they were going to show up. So in Pro 7, you can have a placeholder screen that does that. And then the other two are a type of virtual screen. On the Mac and Mac only, there's one called Siphon that can send a screen from ProPresenter to other software on the same Mac. So I guess there's actually 5 types. On Windows, the only thing that's supported is there is in fact a kind called NDI, Network Device Interface, and that will send a screen over the computer network within the same building. So that can send it to other software on the same computer as well, so Windows isn't out anything. It just does it in a slightly different way. So those are your 5 different kinds. We also have a single screen, a mirrored screen. So if you always want to have 2 screens that are identical, you can set them up as mirrored. Grouped, this would be like a video wall which is made up of several TVs. You can do that. Or edge blend. So if you had multiple projectors next to one another and you wanted to seamlessly make it so that they transition from one to the other, you could use edge blending within ProPresenter to kind of fade between the edges where those overlap. And that's what that does. Here under this, we've got the hardware is what it is. So you'll notice screen 1 down here, placeholder, and I can change this. Color, I can color correct individual screens if I want to. And corner pin is I can change where the corners are. So if you've got keystone correction on a projector, it's exactly the same thing. So that would primarily be something you used on a projector. The 4th one is only available for NDI and Blackmagic hardware, more specifically the Decklink Duo, the Decklink Quad, Ultra Studio, HD Mini, Ultra Studio 4K, kind of more expensive hardware. And that enables, when you have this on and enabled, it enables you to have transparency. It takes 2 video signals to do it, but it does enable transparency. You'll also notice I told you your screen color is set in the configure screens. Well, there that is. So each screen can have its own color. So this is black. This one is chroma key green. This one is like a pinkish, so that when I turn on this TV, if I don't see the pink, I know, hey, something has gone wrong and I need to troubleshoot. So that's why I've got that one, and so on. So that is a little bit about ProPresenter. I've barely scratched the surface. We'll come back and I'll answer each and every one of your questions. I know that Elizabeth wanted to talk about MIDI, and seems like there was something else that she wanted to talk about. And I've seen some other questions go by, and so I'll start at the beginning and we'll just go on. But first, I do want to talk about something really. Mentioned Church Tech U a few times, and if you go to churchtechu.com, this is what you'll see. And these are some happy people that were Church Tech U members. This is the regular price, $99 a month. That's for your entire church, by the way. That's not per person, that's per church. So if you've got, every time you get someone new, it's a blessing, not a curse. But let me show you a little bit inside of it. Here is We've got the Church Tech U community. I'm actually phasing that community out because I've got a new one that I'll show you here in just a second. I do weekly live classes, usually on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and replays are uploaded there. We've got like 3 years of replays, so about 150 hours of just replays. So if there was a specific version of ProPresenter you wanted to know about, I have a video where I go through all the features of it. Every time there's a new version of ProPresenter, I have a tutorial up as soon as possible about it. So, and here we have ProPresenter courses. I'm going to show those to you here in just a second. It's right there. But I also have my other church tech courses and books, stuff about YouTube, stuff about podcasting, etc. I'm not as known for those, but I am a technophile. I love techie stuff, so I put stuff in there. And this is the archive of live classes from way back. This is the ProPresenter 7 courses. This is the most complete library of ProPresenter 7 content out there. How do I know that? Because I have released more tutorials than anyone else by an order of magnitude. And what I mean by that is, second is Renewed Vision, and they've released about a third, maybe less than me. So I cover all kinds of stuff, including things that aren't officially what ProPresenter was designed to do. So the Hacks, Tips, and Tricks course, for example, is like that. So some of the stuff is well known, like how to make an operator screen. This is my class on that. But some of it is less so. So this is a recent one, how to augment a video switcher multi-view within ProPresenter. How to do advanced text automation. This is one I just released. How to make format one LED wall so that it has different number of lines than maybe screens for the congregation to sing with, or your live stream, stuff like that. So, and that's just that one category. There are other categories as well within that. So if we go back here, ProPresenter not really designed to do it, but it does it. How to format CCLI information differently for different screens. All kinds of stuff in there. By the way, there is gamification, so as you pass certain thresholds, you automatically get little badges that show up here. And this is my community here. Here, let me click sign in so that it shows you the library, so you can go through the regular stuff. And then this is some other posts here. I talked to Sharon about this during our last live class, so that's why I haven't responded there. I do announcements, challenges, etc. in there so that people can interact with me, and it's a much more tight-knit community. So I told you that normally it's $99.97 per month, but for the next week I'm running a sale, and that is 60% off the sale, and that price is $39.97 per month per church. Everyone gets their own login, by the way. So you can teach your pastor how to use ProPresenter. You can teach the youth ministry how to use ProPresenter, etc. just by giving them their own login, and then in their free time they can do it. And they can join me on the live classes. It's a per church thing, so you can get it all taken care of. And for the next 48 hours or so, I'm also throwing in a 7-day trial so that you can just get in there and poke around to see what it's like and decide if it's right for you. 30-day money-back guarantee, so you know, if you accidentally go into day 8 and go, this isn't for me, just let me know and I'll refund your money. But if it's the case that it's my plan that you'll get inside and you'll be like, man, there's all sorts of great stuff here, and you'll want to stay with it. So that's what that's all about. I'll go ahead and copy that into the chat, and then I will go ahead and go through all the questions that we have here. So give me a second to scroll back to the beginning, and I'm going to get a drink of water, and we'll go from there. So let's see here. So I think Elizabeth has... Nope, Wally's got a question here. Okay. So Wally asked if I could have more than one Bible verse showing in the Bible tab, and the answer is yes. I showed you John 3:16 and 17. So that's there. Elizabeth says, I see what looks like the announcement layer icon in green below your clear all button, and also on the action of some of your slides. I haven't seen that before. What is it? Okay, well, let's head back over to ProPresenter. And so that's this right here. So here's what happens. If you right click on the clear all, notice you've got configure clear groups here. So the reason that I have this is this clears everything but the announcement layer. And the reason that I wanted that is I use the announcement layer for this. If I clicked the clear all button here, then that would clear all the layers. I wanted to clear most of the layers, so that's why I did that. So you can make several of these that are like clear different configurations, and I chose the announcement to remind me all but the announcement layer. So that's what that is. So, and I think that I can right click, go down to add action. Here, let me hide myself real quick. Go to clear group, and all but the announcement. So I can add that as an action. So that is something else that I can do there as well. Great question. Dee Dee says, at church we have no Wi-Fi, so we can't use Song Select. Also, when we undo the church computer to bring it home, it messes up the configuration. How can I do song lyrics at home and import them into ProPresenter at church? Well, so what you can do is, you can do, get my mouse over here. So we can do a search by clicking here, and we have three icons here. The first one is the ProPresenter icon, so that's searching within ProPresenter. The second one is Song Select, and the third one is multi-tracks. I don't have a login for Song Select, but it works basically the same as multi-tracks does here. So I'm trying to think. Oh, Alabaster Heart. Okay, so then I could just click here and import that in. The import dialog is a little bit different here in the for song select. Doesn't allow you to choose things a little bit differently, but it also brings in chord charts. So if I disable that, then I have the choice of 1 through 4 lines of lyrics, and then I can choose my theme. The size of my largest display is what I typically want to do, the name I want to save it under, which library I want to save it in, and what playlist I want to save it in. I'm going to click cancel there, but that's how you bring it in. Song select is pretty similar. The reason why I don't have song select is they won't sell me one, and I keep forgetting to get it when I'm at church. So I don't work for my church. I work for hundreds of churches training them how to use ProPresenter. So I'm not there but a couple of times a week. So all that to say, once you've added that in, you can go File, Export. A presentation is an individual song file. A presentation bundle is the individual song file along with any media that goes with it. Or a playlist is this whole list of things. So depending on what you want to export, you can do that, and then that will save it as a file that ProPresenter can read, and then you can either send it over to your church with Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever, or if you don't have Wi-Fi in your sanctuary, that doesn't help. So maybe a better way is to have a portable drive of some sort, like a USB thumb drive or a portable hard drive, something like that, and copy it there, and then when you get to church, take it out of your pocket or purse or wherever and plug it into the computer and move it there. So that's how you could do it. For taking the computer home, what you can do is you can disable the outputs and have placeholders that work for those particular outputs just to test stuff on. So great question on that. So I will tell you that depending on the version of ProPresenter you're on, talking about messing up the configuration, there was a bug a few versions ago where if the name of multiple displays connected to ProPresenter were similar, then ProPresenter would not remember which one was which, and sometimes would put multiple on the same one. So let me show you mine, because I had this as a problem. Configure screens once again. So notice how I've got one that's called MITV and then in parentheses 1. I've got another one that's a stage screen in parentheses 2, otherwise identical. It was just a glitch where it wasn't looking at the whole thing. It was only looking at the letters at the beginning and not the numbers. So they have fixed it. It could be the ProPresenter just needs to be updated in order to get around that problem. So Marcia was saying, talking about icons, in the upper left-hand corner, we get a triangle with an exclamation point on it. When I hover over the message, it says slide element image element media fill not found. Usually what that means, and it's showing you what that means, but in that particular case, a media fill is if we right-click and go into the editor, edit slide here. I could also do Control-E on a Mac. I think it's Alt-E on Windows. In this particular text box right now, it's filled with a color. But I could have filled it with a piece of media, like a video or a still image. So if it had ever been filled with that, and then that particular piece of media got moved from where ProPresenter was looking for it, or deleted altogether, it would give you that thing. So I would just go in through and check that fill and see if that doesn't solve your problem. Next question. So DD was talking about placeholders as a solution. Yep. Elizabeth says that in Reflow Editor, the Windows command is Control Enter to add the line break, and Option Return. So it's Control, not Alt. I don't have all the Windows ones memorized, but I know they in general line up. Not always, though. So Wally was asking about having all the Bible verses for the service available in the Bible tab. What I would do instead is I would add them to a presentation or multiple presentations so that you can then go through and do any reordering, editing, stuff like that. So that would be a better way. Same translation, yep. Andre says, can you do a video on how to send MIDI notes to different programs and devices such as vMix, BM, Blackmagic, ATEM video switches, etc.? Yeah, probably the biggest thing you need to know is what channel those are on. So if we go back here, let me show myself again. Right click here. I've already got MIDI set up, so add action and then communication. Let me hide myself just a second. Communication and then MIDI note on. You'll notice that first off it asks for the device. It is possible to have more than one MIDI device. You could have a network MIDI and then a USB to MIDI cable, so you do need to check that. MIDI note on is typically what you're going to be using. The channel is what I would suspect that you need to make sure that each device is on a different channel so that they don't get confused, because it could be the case that note 0, C2 here, does a different thing in Blackmagic than it does in other stuff. So yeah, that's the thing that I would look at first. So, scrolling through that. Mia says, I had a question about the Stage app. Is it worth the $10? Does it show video and pictures? No, it doesn't show video and pictures. I made mutinies and want to have that for the sound and camera guys on iPad. Yes, the Stage app only shows the text, so that's one thing to keep in mind. You could have a NDI viewer app on an iPad, iOS, or Android device. That's fine if you wanted to see video, but the Stage app only shows text. So the answer to, is it worth $10? It really depends. For example, we've got a guitarist that keeps an iPad like at his feet, like propped up kind of like a book on its side, and he has all his chords there. So that's all he uses it for. Perfectly useful for him. But seeing the video, no, it doesn't do that. Marcia says, what about putting scripture up from a couple of different translations side by side? Can you set a theme to import English on the left and French on the right? Yes, for scripture it's actually really easy, and we're running low on time, but I'm going to try and show this to you real quick. I do hope to see some of you within Church Tech U, because these are the kinds of questions I answer every week. and we're able to interact, and I can just help you. So anyway, notice here that I've got this one translation. If I click this plus button right here, it says, hey, first off, you need to break it on the verse. So I'm going to say okay. And then I can change to any other translation that I have downloaded into ProPresenter. So this is a Greek New Testament here. I don't right now have a theme selected. I would need to select a theme over here that has multiple translations. I think I've got one. Bible 2 translations right here. So this will work. Okay, so now I can put that there. Okay, and now I've got that like that. This is only top to bottom because that's how I've set up the theme. There's no reason why I couldn't set up the theme left to right. When I answered the question earlier, I only saw the French and English. For songs, it's a little more difficult, and that's what I'm working on. But for this, absolutely can work that way. So let me go ahead and scroll down real quick. Little fun stuff about that. Yeah, Marcia, for songs, that's how you copy and paste is the way to do it. But for this, Mia says multi-stage display. Gotcha, not multi-mutinies. So Marcia says, is there a way to run an announcement slide only on a separate computer? We're syncing to repository in Pro 6 and not sure with Pro 7. What needs to be checked when syncing to Pro 7? So basically the exact same information that's in Pro 6 should work as long as you're not using ProPresenter Cloud, because ProPresenter Cloud isn't yet supported in Pro 7. That's one of the subtle differences, but you should be able to upload that to a repository. I might change it to a different folder so that you don't overwrite stuff, but you can also control multiple instances of ProPresenter from a central ProPresenter or vice versa. So if they're on the same network, you could have exactly the same presentations on two different machines, turn on network link, and then one will control the other. So that's where I thought you were going initially with that. So Elizabeth said MIDI, timecode, and audio. Let me, because I think audio, I touched on MIDI just a second ago. I really hate to leave questions unanswered, even though I might just trim off the beginning just a bit. So here, let's go back here into ProPresenter, and I'll show you a little bit about audio. Audio, I think, is one of the harder things, at least for me, to understand. So we're going to go to ProPresenter and then Preferences if you're not on macOS Ventura or later. Settings if you are. So there, and then go into, we're going to start off at audio right here. Channel count, how many audio channels you're dealing with. And that is built into ProPresenter audio channels. So think of this as for audio routing purposes. I have this set to 4 so that I could have 2 for my in-person congregation and then 2 for my live stream. So that's why I did 4 there. This first section is, these are all outputs. So the first section is the inspector. If you want to, for example, listen to a piece of audio or a video clip with headphones at the computer, but not send that out to the the soundboard for the congregation or to the live stream for them. That's what the inspector does. The second one is the main output. This is what most people think of as the output of ProPresenter. And if we click on routing here, notice on the top we have a device channel that is sending it to a particular device. In this case, I'm just using the stereo output of the HDMI connected to my computer. And then on the left-hand side, it's the ProPresenter internal router channel. So I'm saying everything from channel 1 in the ProPresenter router gets to channel 1 on the output. And everything from channel 2 in the built-in ProPresenter channel router goes to channel 2 on that particular device output. This is the third possible audio output, SDI and NDI. So they're not separated right now, but let me show you that, because that device has 16 channels. That's my Decklink Duo device. So I can do all kinds of fancy routing there. My fourth output is actually the live video right over here. So if I go into capture settings and routing right here, then I can take, for example, channels 3 and 4 from the ProPresenter built-in audio router and send those to the left and right output channels of my live stream. So those are my three outputs. Inputs we've either got, if I'm not sure that I've got a video with audio here. But if I go to the audio tab over here, let me hide myself real quick. Go to the audio tab here, right click, it's the inspector either way, and select inspector. And then I go to, I think it's the third tab here, yeah. Then I can do channel routing for that. So I could send this audio only to channels 1 and 2 if I wanted to. So this is just a stereo audio file, and it goes to channel 1 and 2 in the ProPresenter audio router. Notice for this as a source, the ProPresenter router is on the it's up and down instead of left and right the way that it was for the outputs. The other place that you set audio is, again, going back into ProPresenter preferences or settings, inputs. And so notice that I have my different video inputs, but I've also got an audio input here. And right now you can see the levels bouncing. If I were to click on those, it would do a loop, so I'm not going to, but you can disable that and you can do your routing here as well. So that is how to do it, kind of an overview. But I think that I'm going to have to call it. Let me just real quick see. See if I have any other ones that I can answer real quick. I really hope that so Kim, I do have a tutorial on how to use Planning Center integration. You can find that on YouTube, or I'm happy to walk you through it inside Church Tech Q. Lester said, question on media management. First, backgrounds, I've developed a hack workaround in Pro 6 using Google Drive. I make graphics package for sermon notes, including different backgrounds, PNG files, etc., etc. Reads it at startup. This way I can automatically load those images. One thing I will tell you is that ProPresenter, including ProPresenter 6, does not really like cloud drives, because if the local copy gets deleted, then it gets confused. So you will need to make sure that there is a local copy for ProPresenter to see. So Smitty says, I have a video shot of our praise and worship team playing. Is it possible to run video and then overlay graphics in time with the video? Absolutely possible. You could either manually change them, or you could have an audio click track that you send to usually the drummer, bare minimum. But if you've got in-ear monitors for your audio for your band, then they can have that click track as well. Gene Toth says, in our announcement loop before, we have 2 connection slides, one to direct folks to fill out a card and the other for the web link to stream participants to record their attendance. So I think what you can do anytime you have that situation where you have 2 slides, one goes to the people in person and the other goes to the people online, what you can do is in looks, so if I go to look, I'm going to select VBS special look, and I'll show you why here. So edit looks, I should have just gone to edit looks here. So the VBS special look here,